My friends, here it is. The Saturday morning live stream at the Garden Like a Viking headquarters. Zone 5/6. No VA Green. We're not going to nickname him Late Nate. Because I don't know if you remember this, but I had 11 and a half years of perfect attendance in school. I never missed a day of school my whole life until the day came when I did. But that's for a different channel. That's for the Travel Like a Viking channel. So guys, I got to do the sound check real quick, then we'll get started. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Melon squash. Okay, what did I say in the sound check? Man, these plants are growing crazy. Okay, so let us see. Where are we? Okay, thank you, Val. And yes, I received your $20 donation via the PayPal link. So thank you very much. And she sent $20 and she said, is there any way to identify determinate from indeterminate tomatoes? Don't want to take the suckers off the determinate ones, or so I'm told. Thank you for all you do, my friend. Thank you for your contribution, my friend, both energetically, consistently across all the channels, and also now this monetarily. So, guys, thank you, Erica Eilis. Thank you, everyone, for telling me about the sound check. So I'm confident to speak. So Val asks, is there any way to determine the determinate from indeterminate? So you must mean if you don't know the variety, because so what varieties are you growing? Let me ask you that. What varieties are you growing? Or do you not know? Are they just volunteers or something? So that will determine the difference. So tell me, whoa, that thing's hot. Tell me the varieties you are growing. And Jamil Al-Yurdi says, hey man, please tell me, is J-Dom sulfur harmful for bees? Only if you get it directly on the bees is it going to be harmful, in my experience. It does not deter the bees in any way whatsoever. The only way that it will hurt them is if you're spraying it directly onto the bees. So you're probably talking about if you have a fruit tree, if you've got fruits or almonds or something like this that you need the pollination activity, and we never want to hurt the bees, of course. And no, so long as you do not directly spray the bees. That's why we will spray in the evening time when the bees have gone away. Really in the nighttime is when would be the best time to spray the sulfur. Yes. So, ooh. Yes, thank you very much via CashApp. Nancy Dewald says $20. Good afternoon, Nate. Good afternoon, Nancy. Thank you for the contribution, my friend. Appreciate it. So no question that time. Maybe just to hear your name out loud. Okay, my friend. So thank you again. So let's see here. Wayne Caroli says, low bees buzzing at dusk and dark. Yes, so we want to make sure that we don't spray anything in the direct sun, especially things like sulfur, the wetting agent, really anything. Now, if you watched my recent aerated compost tea video, I think, because I was filming and I had to get the video done, I had to spray when it was still plenty daylight, but it was not in direct sun. So that's very important. Now, the aerated compost tea, it's not important in the sense that you're going to harm the plants so much because there's no like wetting agent, there's no surfactants or anything in it. But it will degrade, the ultraviolet light will quickly degrade the microorganisms. Because, for example, in my cold plunge downstairs, I converted a chest freezer into a ice bath cold plunge. It's amazing. You really ought to do it if you haven't already. And so I can do cold plunges all summer long. Now, I have made for like an aquarium, I have an ultraviolet sterilizer. And so the water filters through there and a bright ultraviolet light is sterilizing the bacteria that's in there. And that keeps the water relatively clean and free of bacteria. So the sun is much more powerful and can do that. So, so we just have to be cognizant of that. Okay, so Val says, I have several kinds of tomatoes. Among them are the two determinate, Amish and San Marzano. Yes, okay. So, as far as how can you, let me see if you said anything else about that. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking for it. But let me see, 1 second. Okay. Yes. So the determinate versus indeterminate, now both of those are going to be determinants. And so they will typically, you know, your sauce tomatoes, your paste tomatoes, those are all going to be determinate because they want you, or because they will, you want to get like a big batch, you know, all at once. You want them to all kind of produce a bunch at one time so that you can get a huge stock pot full and do your canning and all of that kind of stuff. Now, the indeterminate ones, such as the Cherokee purples, or just many of the other ones, you know, the cherry tomatoes, the purple bumblebees, all of that, they will produce a couple of them and they'll ripen, and then they'll produce a couple more, and then they'll ripen, and they'll keep growing, and they'll produce a few more, and they will ripen. So it will go like that all throughout the season. So your slicers and things are actually best like that. Your slicers, like the Cherokee purple, we'll say, or the Berkeley tie-dye, many of those are going to be to walk out to the garden and pick one or two big, nice, plump ones and eat it with one of the fermented cucumbers that you see from my video, or with one of the, some of the basil. Yes? So that is how you want to do that. And that's the difference between them. Now, you don't necessarily need to prune anything. So it depends on your growing style, and you will see videos this year because at the Viking North Garden, we're doing a very innovative style of gardening for you guys. It's just incredible. Okay, so it's very innovative. So you will see in the future, but there we will, which I have already done. Sound is crackling. I don't know what that's from. Maybe it's my voice. Okay, so yeah, see, some people say I don't hear anything. Yeah, sorry guys, I don't know what this, you know, live. Yeah. So the I forgot what I was talking about because I was worried about the sound. So let me pay attention. Okay, so Brian Airy, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate your continued support energetically across the channels and financially. Thank you. It says, much peace and blessings, my Viking friend. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. Same to you. Kip Tap, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. It says, thanks, Nate. We'll have to catch this video later. All right. We'll enjoy whatever it is that you are doing. I know that a lot of people are outside right now getting it done on this beautiful day. So let me see a few more things. Sam Potzik says, Big Will Dog, that's a shame to hear. What's a shame? We don't want no shame for Big Will Dog. Okay, Big Will Dog says, Nate, I'm sure a couple of my tomato plants are suffering from herbicide drift from my neighbor's lawn being treated. Should I start new plants or just buy replacements? You know, that's up to you, but in Indiana, which you are, in the Midwest, in zone 5, 6, 7, 8, you could start tomatoes from seed right now and still get tomatoes. You could plant tomato, you could direct sow tomato seeds right now, and you will get tomatoes this year. The reason that we start them so early is because we want them early. We want them, so if you started them 2 months ago, you're gonna get them much faster. Yeah, you're gonna get them much faster than you would if you just let them volunteer. Because right about now, the volunteers are starting to come up, the volunteer tomatoes. Now, you will get tomatoes from all those if you live in the appropriate zones, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. But it's not gonna be till like late September. So that's the thing. But Big Will Dog, I would go ahead and buy some. I mean, it's go time. You want them tomatoes early. I would go ahead and buy some. Now, they might recover. They might recover if their person's not spraying more broadleaf herbicide and stuff like that. It's just a shame that we even have to think about that. It really is. Doug McCoy says, the suckers take energy from the stem just above it. That's what I was talking about. Okay, so we're doing the innovative, so I'm explaining this in a roundabout way. Now, one of my favorite ways and most successful ways to grow tomatoes is to plant the tomato and just that's it. Don't trellis it at all. Just let it sprawl across the ground. Because in its natural environment, the cousins, the distant cousins of the tomatoes that we grow are they're vines. They grow along the ground. That's why they can put out roots anywhere along the stems. And so, because they just kind of sprawl out like that, it's almost like a ground cover vine type plant. We grow them because we want to save space and we want to have that airflow. Now, you can just plant them and let them sprawl. So if you're doing the plastic sheet gardening or the landscape fabric gardening, then you can just put a hole every 4 feet, give or take, plant the tomato plant, and that's it. And it will just boom, it will just sprawl all over the place, and you will see how healthy that plant will be. It will be very healthy, so long as you don't crowd them. That's the main thing. That's the main drawback, is that each plant will take up a 10-foot circumference, at least. Circumference? Diameter. It will take up at least a 10 feet across space. So that is a really good way to grow the tomatoes. All right. And so you don't actually have to prune the suckers off. A lot of people are getting too hung up about, because they hear from the internet, oh, you got to prune them suckers, otherwise it zaps all the energy away, which is kind of true given your certain growing type. But you can also just plant the tomato and never touch it again. And those suckers will produce fruit. The suckers will produce fruit. The plant knows what it's doing. And so, there's so many different ways, but I'm just saying that you can. Now don't be planting your tomato and then putting a little flimsy tomato cage on there and then thinking that you're just going to let it sprawl and be fine. Or that you're going to grow it up a cage or a string for sure. That's not going to work. It really only works if you've got those big cages that they can just go wild in and lots of room, or you just let them sprawl, okay? So, but then come late summer or midsummer, if you want them to sort of stop the growth and to focus on ripening what they have already set, then go ahead and trim the suckers off. And of the indeterminate ones, trim the growing tip off as well. I've done it all ways, guys. And so sometimes if you grow it up a string to really conserve a lot of space, this is how greenhouses do it. Commercial growers do it like this a lot, because you can pack a lot in a small space. So we'll grow it up the string, but then you have to prune those suckers. You absolutely have to. It's more space saving and it produces very healthy results. Not more healthy than the sprawl method, but as healthy if you do it right, but it's way more work. So there's pros and cons to all of it. So Darren Dies, $20 via Cash App. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, for you are an inspiration to us all. Stay true to who, I assume it says stay true to who you are. So thank you very much, Darren. And that's exactly what I will do. Have no fear there. I will do exactly what the heart energy guides me to do all the time without compromise. And if you guys follow the Thrive Like a Viking channel, then you understand what I mean when I say that and the workings behind what structures your life. So let us see. There was another question that I wanted to get to. Was there a tip that I missed? I'm sorry if there was. No? Okay, I see that. Now, let me have a little bit of tea. Let me get some tea going on here. Okay, Big Will Dog says 50-50 on starting new versus buying some just to get harvests that are close to the rest of my plants. Have planted more tomatoes due to my neighbors not growing this year, so it's just sad. I know. It's heartbreaking when the stuff is not growing, definitely, or when it gets wiped out. I mean, because you put so much energy and love into it, and it's growing, and it's going to be a beautiful thing, and then all of a sudden just wiped out by some careless herbicide, something like that. Yeah. Lisa T says, last year I sprawled the tomatoes and lost a lot to rot. Plenty to harvest though. Still have half dozen jars of sauce. Yes, definitely. That can be a drawback if you don't have the right spacing, if you don't have the right technique. The sprawl method takes like a field. I mean, kind of. It just takes plenty of space because you need to have like 10 feet in between, at least 10 feet, preferably like 15 feet in between the rows, you know, and 3 to 4 feet in between each plant so that you can get to them. And you pretty much need to have it on plastic or fabric. You really need to, because that's the only way that it just keeps it all so clean. You know, you can do it the other method, but yeah, you'll lose a lot to rot. Look at that, Moroccan style. All right, guys, mint, strawberry mint from my uncle, and Jenny mint from Jenny years ago. Now it's everywhere. And then a spearmint and lime basil from the Tennessee family, and some fresh chamomile. Pour that in boiling water. That's what we got. No catnip, remember that. Makes you super tired. Okay, a couple of questions here I want to answer. Hogue says, does anyone have any suggestions for how to eat garlic scapes? I've cooked with them a couple times in stir fry. They are stringy and undesirable like lemongrass. Ooh yeah, because you waited too long. You got to get them when they're young. Once they make that full spiral, they're pretty much gone. So you need to, when they're young like this, watch. I'm going to regret this, but no problem whatsoever. Just very pungent, very, very potent and pungent. I mean, you can eat them like this. See? Super tender. You don't actually have to do anything to them. But the way I like to do it is harvest them and then chop them up into sections, you know, little tiny things like that, 1/4 inch, and then fry them in lard and use that. Because they're really good they'll soften up if you will fry them a bit. So get the oil nice and hot. Animal oil is the best, of course, like a lard or a tallow, or even butter or ghee, something like that. And cut them up and then let them saute on a medium heat. Let them saute for a while, and that's going to infuse the oil with the beautiful, delicious taste of the scape. The garlic scape tastes pretty much like garlic, except with a greenness to it, like a different kind of depth than the garlic. Very, very pungent, very potent, no doubt. Wonderful for the body and the mind and the blood circulation and the testosterone production and all kinds of good stuff. But you have to know how to cook with them. So if you want a good way, do them on a salad. So fry them up in the lard or the tallow, and until they start to brown, until they start to get brown, little chunks of them like that. Then once they are brown and they crisp, take them out of the oil, let them dry, put them right into your salad, like an arugula salad, and they'll be these like crunchy little delicious. Sprinkle some salt over them while they're in the oil. There'll be this crunchy, delicious, salty, garlicky, flavorful little thing inside the salad. That will be delicious, guys. Super good, okay? Now, I picked this because I wanted to talk about this. Because right about now, at least in northern Indiana, is the time when the garlic, most hardneck garlic, is starting to put out scapes. So the scapes are the seed stalk. It comes out of the center of the plant, and it will go like this, and then it will curl down like this, and then right when it's time to harvest, it will straighten back up, you know? So now, I've done it many ways over the years and observed the results many times, and I can say with confidence that it doesn't really matter if you pick the scapes or not. It's kind of a myth that it makes it focus more energy on the bulb production. Maybe it does. The jury's still out a little. I mean, I do it because I love to eat the scapes. I mean, that is like a super huge treat for me because it's garlic that you don't gotta peel, and it's not more flavorful, but it's just its own kind of thing. And I use them they're here for about 3 weeks, give or take, and I use them up in every dish that I can. But Don't think, oh no, I didn't take my scapes off, and so the bulbs are going to be real small. That's not, I've not found that to necessarily be true. All right. Reefer Madman says, how are onions, or I assume you mean alliums as well, good for you if your gut is full of bacteria? An onion is an antibacterial. Does it only kill bad bacteria? Um, so the Does it only kill bad bacteria? Now, the type of, actually, if you really research it, one of the best things for the gut microbiome is the prebiotic fiber that is in the alliums. It's a very particular type of fiber. And so the gut microbiome loves alliums and other things like that. So it's actually really good for the gut microbiome. Now, that's good because these are onions, guys, from last season. Okay, this one is just starting to get a little bit soft. These are the yellow of Parma, and this one is still rock hard, fresh. I mean, we are in May, end of May, and they still have good onions from last year. Now, if you grow them right, harvest them at the right time, then you will have this as well. Now, a big misconception, and I'll go ahead and say it based upon my life experience, is that everyone's like, says, "Oh, you want to wait till all the necks get soft and are falling down." And I made a couple videos. I made one like on Instagram that got like 4 million views and stuff. And there were so many experts in the comment section talking about, who wants to tell this clown that he harvested his onions too early? Ha ha ha. You know, I said, okay, well, show me your onions, you know, because I guarantee that you're not having these amazing storage onions all winter long. Now, the reason that I do it like that is because if you wait and watch my onion video I just released in the late winter, if you wait until the necks are falling down, then they're not going to store as long. They just don't store as long. Wait until you see just a couple of them start to fall down, and then you harvest them all. That's the right time. So you do not have to wait until every neck falls down. That's not an indicator. And I also, anymore, I never cut the onion to try to make it get bigger. You'll hear that a lot. Okay, so cut off the foliage. You never trim the onions. Once you plant them, you never trim them, okay? You just let them go. Because, and I'll just say it again, because onions, it's time for all of that. Don't trim the onions because they need their solar panels. We are coming up to the summer solstice. In another month is going to be the longest day. And then it's going to start getting shorter. So long day onions are producing all their vegetative growth right now, putting out a bunch of leaves and stuff. So you really want to encourage that with the foliar of some of the stuff, okay, that we've talked about. But then once the summer solstice hits and the days begin getting shorter, they will stop the vegetative formation and they will focus on the bulb. And they'll go from having like no bulb to a full-size bulb in about 4 weeks. And then they'll start, see some of the necks kind of starting to get soft. And that's when you want to harvest it. And so if you're cutting the leaves off, you're cutting its solar panels off. The plant is solar powered and it only has one source of solar energy, well, the sun, but only one way to capture it, and that's by its leaves, its solar panels. It's sitting here receiving the photons from the sun. It's catching the photons, unlocking those little packets of energy and using them to combine all the elements and to pull the carbon out of the air and to combine the elements from the minerals in the earth and to combine them all in the right proportions to create another one of itself. It is absolutely unbelievable when you think of it. When you see it deeply, it is just jaw-dropping. The technology that is in something that seems simple. Oh, it's just an onion. No, it's not just an onion. It is the creative force of the universe. It's the intelligence that is just mind-blowing. So, okay, Gordon Smith is saying, how do I heat up my hot compost heap? Losing too much heat after turning. Well, then you need to... Well, there can be several factors. So obviously, the only thing that can be done, that needs to be done, is that you need to allow it, or you need to add nitrogen. Because remember this, guys, In hot compost, the engine of decomposition is bacteria, and the gasoline for that engine is nitrogen. And so the more nitrogen, the faster it will break down. The less nitrogen, the slower it will break down when you're going bacterially based. So that is why a pile of fresh grass clippings, if you mow the lawn and have a bagger and put them in a pile, within hours, it is so blazing hot in there that you can hardly touch it. The very next day, you can't even put your hand in there. And a couple days later, it will just be a fraction of the size because it's collapsed, and it will look like it's been almost burnt. I mean, it gets so blazing hot in there because there's so much fresh nitrogen. But if you take those same amount of grass clippings and you spread them out in a thin layer and let them dry for 2 days until they're brown and the nitrogen evaporates, then you put it into a pile, it won't do anything. It'll just sit there for a long time until some more stuff gets involved. That is the basis behind hay. Hay, if you cut it fresh and put it in a pile, will just rot immediately. But if you dry it out first to the appropriate time, then bale it at just the right time, then it doesn't rot. It just sits there for a long time. So yeah, that's so you need to get the compost back into it, all right? Wayne Caroli, just a bunch of random events. Yeah. VA Green says, Nate, sounded like Heather had a serious problem with black bugs infesting her radishes. Let's see here, VA Green. Okay, Heather who? Let us see. Heather. Let's see. Yes, Reefer Madman says onions also create sulfuric acid. Yes, that's what makes them pungent. So you can help that out by adding things that are sulfuric into the soil. That can definitely help. That's why the Viking granular nutrients has a good amount of sulfur in it, because it will be really good for alliums. Now, by the way, all you guys should have received your Viking granular nutrients by now. If you haven't, hit me up. And you should have, meaning that you paid for it. Let me know. But all that stuff should be shipped out. The final ones got out just this last week. And it should be good. Okay, I'm going to go to Heather Fox. Go to Heather Fox. I can't see it. Guys. Someone reposted. Okay, here it is. Heather Fox says, Nate, I got black bugs all over my radishes and potatoes. I put a picture of them on a site and someone said they were flea beetles. Oh yeah. Have you ever dealt with this? They are taking over my garden. Flea beetles are a real issue. Flea beetles can be a real issue. Now, there's a couple of schools of thought on flea beetles. One is that you have to get rid of them. You have to get rid of them immediately because people don't want the holes in their leaves, and they can get to a point where they just devour everything. They can. But at the same time, I have found that you just tolerate them for a while, and then they kind of go away. So there will be flea beetle damage at first, but then it just sort of goes away. Now, that being said, I have had infestations a couple of years, and I've used the JDOM Sulfur, the JDOM Wetting Agent, and the JDOM Jerusalem Artichoke. Combination of the three. That's the JDOM natural pesticide right there. So if you feel like they're destroying things, then spray that in the evening. Now, the flea beetles love heat. They love the hot, the sun, and the heat. And so they will devour the plants when they're like in their most vulnerable stage, just in the blazing sun. So but you can't apply the JDOM stuff in the sun. So apply it in the evening time to the soil as well. And so that should really help a lot. If you haven't made any of the pesticides yet, you should. Yes. Let's see here. Mick says, I've been using mine in the garden with all my fresh starts for the last 2 weeks. Nice. I think you mean probably the Viking granular, huh? So Dane says, Nate, I need your help. I live in heavy clay soil area with mostly evergreen and no real hardwood for leaf mulch and need to break up this clay. Okay, when do you need to break it up? Like right now or in the long run? Because if you need to break it up right now, then you can go and get a bag of Pro Mix, just pure peat moss, a bale, and it's like 12 bucks. And you can get that and you can broad fork that into the clay. That will help immediately. That will help for this season. That's something that I do sometimes. Broad fork it or till it in. So now repeated tillage we're not about, but we're also not about religiously, no, you can never disturb the ground, because there are definitely times when tillage is wonderful, okay? So, but repeated long-term, that's not the long-term plan. So anyways, Dane, yes, you can do it like that immediately. You can also add some biochar. You could also add some perlite or something like that. But the peat moss, a bale of peat moss mixed in is going to be pretty good. All right. You could also mix in some manures if it's composted. You could also mix in some compost. I don't know how big the area is, but if you have a little bit more time, then cover crops. Cover crops are going to be the way to go. Now you can alternate. You can do a couple methods. If you're really wanting only no-till, then go with a ryegrass, a winter rye or winter wheat the first year. Yeah. And Reefer Madman says biochar over perlite. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question. Biochar definitely over perlite if you have the option. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to be making biochar, but if you do, I mean, then get the bag of the lump charcoal. Watch my video on how to activate it. Crush it up, add that to the soil. That's going to help a lot for a long time. It's going to help. All right. Now, if it's long term, you want to get them cover crops happening. So if you really desire a no-till, then start with the ryegrasses, all right, and make it so that, because those have a very fibrous root system that's going to go deep into the earth, and it's going to really help to break up that soil. I mean, I have really tested a lot of it and stuff, and those roots can be huge and massive. And then when you terminate it, those roots decompose and they leave the little air channels, they leave the microorganisms, they leave all kinds of good stuff. So that's a really good way to help break up the soil, and the microorganisms will produce the glomalin, which will help to pull and bind the soil into aggregates, which is what we want. Even clay. You can grow wonderful things in clay soil if the right microorganisms are present. So, but if you want to do it soon, then and you have a tiller, then you can till up the clay, plant a fast-growing cover crop like a mustard green or a lentil of some kind, or a clover can work and stuff. So depending on where you're at, I don't know. You'll have to choose the fast-growing cover crop, preferably a nitrogen fixer, and then let that grow and then till that in. Green manure it. That's the way. That is a really good method. So if you wanted to improve your clay soil for the next couple years, green manure it. If you want to say, okay, I've got clay soil and I want to grow a nice sized garden next year. Okay, so till it up now, plant that cover crop, and then let it grow, and then till all that in the early spring. And that will become all that food for the microorganisms, and they're really going to help do stuff. And you can till that in, and you have several different options after that. Watch my video on the green manure. Green manure method is very important. Big Will Dog says, should I worry about my compost pile being contaminated now that I have drift issues? Hate to think my effort in turning with physical limits may be a waste now. Yeah, really. I do not think that will be an issue, unless it was really soaked by something. I can't say. I don't know what was used. I don't know what, but there's a lot of microorganism activity in good compost. So they can typically denature them, but I don't know what was used. I wouldn't worry that much about it, though. So yeah, a lot of you guys are getting have used the slug solution. Carol Lou says, "Used the slug solution last night. Epic. The snails are shells of their former selves." Yes, that is exactly how it works, guys. Look to Nature Homestead says, "Been throwing down 2 gallons of the slug solution every night this week. They are decimating my peppers. They seem to be bouncing back." Ooh, really? Well, maybe you're not getting it fine enough. Maybe you're not. How are you applying it? You might want to try applying it with a fogger, with an atomizer, which I can. I think I might have a link in. I think it might be in my Amazon storefront. The one that I use, very nice. That will atomize it. So the let's see here. Alberto, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, "May the Viking shield and sword provide blissful opportunities for this channel and all of your endeavors." Thank you very much, my friend, for that kind of energy. And I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that it will provide all of that and much more. So thank you. Big Eric 420 says, "Just saying hi, sending love from NorCal." What's up, Big Eric? Where in NorCal are you at? I was in the Honeydew area for a long time. So, let's see here. So many questions. Agata Flores says, "I just did Ultimate Slug Solution yesterday and applied it to my garden last night. It worked amazingly. All the slugs are gone. Thank you so much." Yes, I know. It is incredible. It's incredible because there's nothing else that can do the slugs. Even if you're like at your wit's end and you decided to use like a real insecticide like 7 or something, it doesn't destroy slugs. It doesn't affect slugs at all. So slugs drive people insane. You know, and I can't do it. And the sluggo, it doesn't really work that well. Beer traps, yeah, they can work. I just haven't had that good of success with it. And of course, I don't drink anything like that anymore. But I haven't had that good of success. It's nothing like the ultimate slug solution. You spray it on, and you just see them turn to mucus, and it's done. Yeah, Sam Potzik says, "So the lye really breaks down 100%. Yeah, a lot of people are hung up on the fat. I mean, because they say, "You're putting drain cleaner on your plants." No, thank you. I thought you were organic. When they don't understand the nature of the chemicals. Sodium hydroxide is can be used as drain opener, yes. It can be labeled that way, but also sodium hydroxide can be labeled in other ways and used for other things. And it is, in fact, used extensively on certified, USDA certified organic farming operations. So the people that are hating in all the comments and stuff about putting drain cleaner on your plants, what a clown. They don't understand that organic celery that they bought for sure was sprayed with sodium hydroxide along with all kinds of other stuff, guys. Just because stuff is organic doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, it's way better than conventional, but it doesn't mean that it's not the same as natural farming. It's not the same as growing it in your backyard. You think, "Oh, it's organic." If there's no holes in the leaves at all, then there's something wrong. I mean, in the sense that they're using something serious. And I've done the research, guys, and if you look at what is used in certified organic farming, they're dousing that with chemicals. And sometimes it's the same chemicals as in the conventional. It's just a different application rate and frequency to clear the regulations. So it's wild, guys. And there's so much more money in organic labeling now. So it's not, the key is to grow your own. You just grow your own. Teats Treat says, "Do you add flowers or greens in your cam?" Yeah. In my cam? What are you talking about? DLR says, "Bagels and pretzels are traditionally boiled in lye water before baked. People are so fearful of it for some reason." Of course, because they do understand that we're surrounded by chemicals and there's an onslaught of man-made chemicals that approach us all the time. Turn your phone off, please. So, so yeah, there is there's a lot of chemicals, but I don't want to get too far into that. Yeah, Look to Nature says, I also throw labs in my drains. That's non-toxic. Yes, I've tried that and stuff. For me, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. So Claire says, is there a source of sulfur that is a smaller quantity than is in your store? Can I use soil sulfur? I think that you can adjust the quantity in that. You don't have to buy the super big thing. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You just need to make sure it's pure. Sam Potzik says, so the lye really breaks down 100%. So yeah, that is the thing that they have tested. JDOM has tested that in several ways, and it all is quickly denatured by the microorganisms. And so yes, it breaks down. So does the JWA. It breaks down and turns into like a mild fertilizer. Let's see here. Lucas Alexander says, Nate, if I pour the liquid from lacto-fermenting peppers and tomatoes on my compost, would it have a similar effect as labs would? Yes, it definitely will. Similar as labs. Yes, it will. But man, I wouldn't be wasting that stuff. I use the liquid from the lacto-fermentations I use in the cooking. Definitely use to flavor Indian dishes, rice, any of that kind of stuff. Put it in right towards the end. It's wonderful. Okay. Look to Nature says, labs seem to work to rid me of an unknown scent in a drain. That it definitely could do. I definitely could see that happening. Stone Creek says, Nate, what are your thoughts on using newspaper with straw on top for a mulch? Newspaper with straw on top. That can work. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. But definitely, if you put down several layers of newspaper and then the straw on top and make sure that it stays there and is wet, then yes, that will work great. It'll help to block out the weeds, but the straw is going to need to be tall. So Chanel says, a little help, please. My husband gifted me a dual compartment compost tumbler. Which method or items should I use to get the best results within a short period of time? Yes, so the dual chamber compost tumblers need to be done in a very particular way. Because here's the thing that happens. Maybe we're back. I don't know why it's doing that, but yeah, sorry guys. Not sure what the deal is with that. Yeah, Chanel. Okay, so here's the thing with the dual tumblers that people will add a little bit and then Bruce Buffer, and then tumble it, add some, tumble it, and they never end up with finished compost. That's the thing. If you keep adding to the tumbler, you'll never end up with finished usable compost. So the best way to use the dual chamber is if you're just trying to make compost, then add the greens and browns, about 30% green, maybe 40% green, 50, 60, 70% brown, something like that. Put that in there and then let it all digest. Now, if you want to use it for food scraps, then the way to do it is to start the left chamber or one of the chambers with some carbon, some shredded up cardboard or some newspaper or some leaves or some straw or some dried grass clippings. Start it with a few handfuls of that and then add your kitchen scraps to that side only for until it's mostly full. And then cap it off and don't add anything else and switch to the other one and then start filling the other one. And you're turning it, you're turning it. Every time you add something, you turn it to get that air in there. And that is going to allow this one to digest. So hopefully you've timed it right, because it'll take, a solid 2 months, really, 2 months, depending on many factors, for all of that to really break down. So, and you can accelerate that by adding some of the labs, the lactic acid bacteria serum from my videos. Add some of that. That will really help to accelerate the decomposition process. So will the fish fertilizer. So will many of the high nitrogen fertilizers that we make ourselves on this channel. So that's how you do it. Okay, that's why the dual chambers are there. Fill it up or use it until it's full and then cap it off. Don't add anything else, and then boom. And yes, Reefer Madman says moisture and turning of the pile is the key to good compost. Yeah, and so you want to make sure another thing that can happen with those tumblers is that they can become bone dry, and essentially everything mummifies when it just becomes bone dry. And so you don't want that. That will take forever to break down. So you want to monitor the moisture of it. So if you're adding fresh kitchen scraps and stuff, you shouldn't have to worry about it. And but if it's just like out in the sun and stuff and you're like not really paying attention to it, you'll go in there one day and all the food just looks mummified. Like it's all just kind of the same. And then you'll be like, oh man, this isn't really working. Yeah. Chanel says, okay, great deal. Thank you so much. I've been telling everyone in the neighborhood about you. Yes. Thank you, my friend. Word of mouth. That's what we need. So, yeah. Just make sure that and remember, you can add pretty much anything to that if you want. Although with the tumblers, you really don't want to add meat scraps and stuff like that because it's not the same. A slow compost has the power, because you're not going to get the worms up in there and stuff like you would with the other methods. So Evador says, all my seeds from, or Evan Dor says, all my seeds from compost are sprouting in the garden. Leave them all or take out the runts and let the dominant ones go. That depends entirely upon your style. I mean, I don't do that because I need to know exactly what plants go where and because I need to know what to focus on. So I don't do that method anymore. I don't do it where, oh, I see some volunteers, I'll just let it go. No, wipe it out. I only do it very intentional. So I will clear the space and I don't let, I'm totally over like allowing companion weeds to grow all over the place. Dandelions, yes, they can grow, no problem. But no, I pretty much mulch everything and I pull the grasses that come up through it. I pull the thistle, I pull the other stuff. I mean, there are no weeds, yes, because we can turn them into fertilizer, so that's fine. But if you're trying to grow plants, there are weeds. There are weeds. If you're trying to grow food, there are weeds. And you'll see a lot of people, the proponents of never pulling weeds and all that, and they'll try to school you on how it's a symbiotic relationship. And yes, and I understand that. And it is in a certain setting. And that has its time and place. But we have to understand that these plants that we're trying to grow are nothing like these weeds that are growing around here, in the sense that these weeds that are growing around here have the home field advantage. They've evolved here and they can thrive and survive no matter the conditions. Whereas the plants that we grow are super weak because we've selected them over thousands of years, humans have, for certain genetic traits. And so it's like the more hybridized you get, the less robust it gets. You understand the difference? And so our vegetable plants quickly become outcompeted by the weeds. So many of the proponents of, oh, just let your garden kind of go to weeds and plant the stuff in there anyways, and they help each other and stuff. Show me your garden. Show me your thriving garden. Now, most people will say that behind a keyboard or something, and maybe they'll have, but then I've seen this. People have shown me these, and I've been there and seen them over the years, and it's, okay, well, I just kind of see a field of weeds, and so where's the food? You know, it's like, oh, well, this little weed this purslane is edible. I put it in salads. Okay, but all this space, and so I don't see the food. Where's the calories? You know, and so they don't really have it. And so I'm like, okay, well, the biggest plus is that it's zero work for them. They just let everything go to weeds. And so, oh yeah, there's food in there somewhere, and they might have a couple nibbles of this or that over the summer. But man, I'm talking about sustenance gardening. I'm talking about focusing your energies and manicuring the land in such a way, just as little as possible, but as much as necessary, manicuring the land, keeping it free of other competitions and stuff, and growing thriving produce that is bursting with flavor because it's not competing with a bunch of other weeds in the garden. It's not trying to struggle across these grasses that are 4.5 feet tall. You know, you see the difference? Wayne Caroli says, I'm laughing so hard right now. Probably because you know what I'm talking about, because you've been there and you've seen that. And oh yeah, I'm doing permaculture. And permaculture is a wonderful thing, but most people are not doing it even remotely in the way that is necessary for thriving success. So they just end up with a huge weedy patch and they're all proud about it. It's symbiotic. Well, okay, yeah, I get that. But what I do is even what appears to be the weeds are intentional. Like I'll plant chamomile all over the place, marigolds all over the place, little onions or garlic cloves in the spring, let them grow and stuff. They all have a purpose. They're all intentional there. Because if I just let the purslane and the Canadian thistle and the quackgrass and if I just let that stuff go, there will be no garden. There won't be a garden. It will be totally overrun because those things live here. And they got the home field advantage. These other plants come from, they're Frankenstein plants, essentially. Even heirloom plants. So I'm not talking about, I'm talking about any plants that we grow as gardens, in our gardens, are heavily genetically selected. Genetically modified, not in a laboratory sense, but in a way of selective breeding for generations. Teats Treats. Okay, do you add the greens or just the flowers in your chamomile tea? I just add the flowers. So I don't really know. I mean, I've never really tried to add the greens though. But I imagine it would be a little bit bitter. The Fury 187 says, if you're reading this comment, you're a true legend. There you go, guys. Legendary status. It's official. I'm done. Oh yeah, not one drop got spilled. So I hope that is the AK Froggy says, I had an entire garden destroyed by chickweed. I couldn't control it and just had to abandon it. I know, it's crazy. It can be very disheartening. The quackgrass is the worst of all, in my opinion and experience, because it just binds up everything, and it's like impossible to kill. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Reefer Madman says, kind of weird peeing on the onion when you are going to eat the bulb. Not really. I mean, don't do it directly before you harvest it and eat it, of course, but no, there's plenty of sulfuric compounds in the urine. Urine's a very good fertilizer. Nitrogen, all kinds of good stuff. So, yeah. Urine, watch my video on fermented urine as a urea fertilizer. It's very effective. Reefer Madman says, I wouldn't pee directly on the onions. I would put the urine in the pile and let it break down. That's up to you, you know, but a good foliar of some fresh urine is not a problem, you know, because we wash everything. I mean, it's not like we're going to urinate on it and then take it inside and eat it, you know, immediately. Well, let me go out to the garden and get the onions for dinner, but hang on, I got to, you know, piss on them first. No, we don't do it like that. So use common sense, yeah. Teats Treat says, you've inspired me and now I'm growing chamomile. Oh, you're going to love it. I'm going to do just a short on chamomile because they are so gorgeous. Keep it picked. Your chamomile, keep it picked. The more you pick, the more it will produce. If you let it once the flowers develop and the leaves start facing downwards all the time, then that is when it's time to go. You got to pick them because if they get too ripe and the plant signals that it's set its seed, it's going to stop producing. So just pick. And then like 2 or 3 days later, you'll see a whole nother flush. Pick. And 2 or 3 days later, maybe 4 or 5 days later, a whole nother flush. So you will be absolutely swimming in chamomile. Okay, VA Green. What's the best cover crop for a 100-gallon pot in the spring and summer? That depends what you're trying to do. So what do you mean? Because why would you be doing cover crop in the spring and summer? Unless you mean you don't grow in the pot, so you're in a hot area. So you don't grow in the 100-gallon pot during the spring and summer. You grow in the winter. Is that what I'm gathering? I would say a white Dutch clover. That's going to be the best, because it's going to add plenty of nitrogen. It's going to be really benign. You could even use it as a living mulch. If you wanted to plant like one tomato plant in the center of the 100-gallon pot, and then put white Dutch clover all around the rest of it, the white Dutch clover will only get about 6, 8, maximum 10 inches tall if it's thriving. And it doesn't outcompete. It will just nourish the life in the soil, and it will really help to retain the nutrients. Reefer Man says, well, I ain't. You can. He's talking about urinating on the onions. Jeffrey says, Val's question. Val says, got the onions in late. Very small, sparse leaves. Last 4 nights, use the fish fertilizer. What else can I add to encourage growth? Urine? You can, yes. Yes, the fish fertilizer, though, will be everything that you need. You can add the urine. Yeah, add that to the soil. And then the aerated compost tea really is going to be the key. And then just add the fish fertilizer afterwards. That's what I would do. That's going to be the key. It really is. Spencer says, tomatoes need to go out, but it will be highs 40s, lows 60s with rain and wind. Should I let them get worse pot bound and wait, or should I put them out now? That depends on the soil temperature. So, I mean, tomatoes are not going to like that, but tomatoes are one of the few plants that it doesn't matter if they're pot bound. I almost brought one of mine in because I still have tomatoes. We're still going to plant in the sheet garden at the Viking North. We're still planting a huge run of tomatoes. You got plenty of time. My tomatoes are like 2 feet tall in a little pot, but they're fine. They're thriving because I'm feeding them. And so, yes, they're root bound, but when I plant them things, I'm going to bury like a foot of that stem. And so it's going to be absolutely fine. Let's see. Alex Kunin says, who did you see recommending leaving a weed patch and calling it a garden? Aren't you being hyperbolic? Well, hyperbolic. I forget exactly what that means, but I'm talking over the years. I can't say exactly, oh, this person did at this time, but I'm in correspondence with hundreds of people. And so through Instagram and through seeing in social media and through books and through talking and through physically experiencing people's place, not just like yesterday, but over the course of like the last 20 years. So that's what I'm talking about, you know. And there are definitely people, I can't think of anyone in particular, but a lot of people are talking about, you know, everything I just said, the interconnectedness of the, like almost like companion planting with the weeds, but it just doesn't work that way. Wayne Caroli says, blood meal if you don't mind spending money. Oh, absolutely. Blood meal is wonderful. Blood meal is available almost immediately to the plants. Within just a couple of days, blood meal the nitrogen can be broken down so fast by the soil microorganisms that you can add that, and within days, it's going to become plant available because it's a great source of fast digesting nitrogen. So, but it also gets used up really fast. So that's why, like in the Viking granular, all those things are thought about. we've got some blood meal, a certain proportion of blood meal, but then for the fast, immediate digestion and use, but then we also got some feather meal, a certain proportion of feather meal, because the feather meal takes about a month before it even really becomes available, but it slowly breaks down for the next 3 months, 3 to 4 months. So like that, utilizing those two, you will have a constant season-long supply of nitrogen. Okay, see you later, Stone Creek. Reefer Madman says, what you call a weed, I may call a plant. You may call weed. Okay, thank you. So Ms. P, hyperbole is deliberate exaggeration and not meant to be taken literally. Ah, yes. So hyperbolic, isn't that being hyperbolic? I mean, being a little dramatic. Well, of course, of course. Of course there's a little bit of dramatic. Let's see here. Hello, Kavita and Anup coming in from Trinidad. All right. Let's see here. There was a, yes, Gary Smith, $30. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, out working in the garden while listening. I think the plants love your energy and also want to listen. You are spiritual electroculture that truly works. Thanks for all you do. Thank you very much, Gary. That is a wonderful comment and wonderful energy. And it's actually true that the plants do respond to love in many ways. So it's that I did, that is real, is for real. And everything that comes along with it, you know? So it's the energy, but it's also the little things that love bring, you know? So if you're showing the garden love, and if you truly love the process and the energy is flowing and happy and positive, you're also going to do the little things that are going to help the plant to grow. You're also going to show it love. You know, you're also going to give it more compost teas, and you're going to make sure it's weeded and stuff. All of that is the love, definitely. Look to Nature says, Tom V, I have burned my plants using too much Jadam microbial solution. It's possible. It's definitely possible. That's why we do it 5 times before planting, and then we must dilute. It's really, it's the salt, the saline, you know. Lucas Alexander says, a weed is any plant growing in a place that isn't wanted. That's right. Yeah. It's 100% subjective. But for me, there's weeds. Yeah, I mean, it's the plants that, okay, they're growing there and they're not wanted because they're so much more vigorous than the plants that I'm growing for food. Chris Black, how often to fertilize onions? You can fertilize them once a week. Or if you're really trying to push and encourage that foliar growth, then foliar feed them every other night with a high nitro, like the fish fertilizer. That would be really good. Andre Puska says, hi Nate, when should I transplant ginger outside? Same zone as yours, thank you very much. Pretty much now. So the last frost is passed, the soil's warmed up, it's time for ginger to go outside. Yep. And ginger can do really well in partial shade. Ginger does well with more shade than any other plant that I've found. Almost full shade last year, and I had a great harvest. So, Wayne Caroli says, where's the info to order the fertilizer? Is there any left? There is a couple left, but I mean, if you want it, you can get it. It's $170. That includes the shipping, which ends up being like $45, $50, unfortunately. But you can just pay Venmo, PayPal, or CashApp and give me your address, and I'll send it out to you the middle of the week. But I only have a couple left, so if you're watching this after the fact, don't even bother if you guys are. So a couple of things that I wanted to show you, okay? So one is that it is May, and look at this bad boy. This Tahitian melon squash is still fresh, okay? So you can grow this thing and have food all winter long until now when things are starting to produce again. So I can't recommend highly enough the Tahitian melon squash, even though everyone, I mean, I probably sound like a broken record about this, but because the squash, it's so good for you. I mean, the storage crops is really what we want. So onions, squash, potatoes, sweet potatoes, and to a certain degree, carrots and beets, storing them in wet sand, so or in the crisper. That's what it's all about. That's what we want. Okay, so get you some Tahitian melon squash and plant them, direct seed them right about now. They like it when it's really hot. So don't worry about thinking that it's too late and stuff like that. Right now, the next 2 weeks is the ideal time to plant your heat-loving stuff. It really is. Once the soil's nice and hot. Like if you've ever planted squash, I've experimented over the years. If you try and plant squash seeds early to get a jump on it, it takes them so long before they sprout, and then they kind of grow so slow until it warms up. As opposed to if you plant them now or like the first week of June when everything's nice and hot, they will sprout in like 5 days, 4 or 5 days, and they're off to the races right away. So, and they'll grow right past those ones, well, not past, but they'll grow as fast at the same time as the other ones. Yeah. So, let's see here. Now, another couple of things. Now, I don't typically do this, but I was really put off by this company. This thing was expensive. It was like $200, okay? This is a broad fork. This is from Treadlike company. And I used this thing. I used it quite extensively. I've had it, this is going on just the 3rd year that I've had this one. Maybe 4th. Yeah, 4th year that I've had this one. And it was the plow model, and it was supposedly the most robust, and I got the steel handles with it and everything. And so it was like, with shipping, like $270, something like that. And then now look at it. The design is one of the dumbest designs that I could ever imagine. Right at the stress point, look at this. Right at the stress point, they have this flimsy little connector right there. And just the other day, I was using this one, and boom, it just broke off clean. That little tiny flimsy weld, look at how flimsy that is. And the whole thing, it never felt secure. And this is supposedly top of the line. They're like, these are heirloom quality. Psych, that's not what I've realized. So this is the broad fork, and this is why I don't take sponsorships from companies. These guys emailed me earlier this year and was like, Garden Like a Viking, hey, how about a partnership? You can promote our products for us and we'll pay you. You know, promote them on your channel. And I was like, no, thank you. You know, because it just doesn't feel right. And so this is why, because just like a month after I declined that email, then now this happens. So I would be really upset if this happened and I was like, yeah, guys, try and sell these Tread-like broad forks. So this is irritating, and I don't have a welder here at this place like we did in the mountains. So I'm gonna have to go hit my friends up. So yeah, poor design, unfortunate, sorry guys. Let's see, Claire says, that stinks, Nate. I'm guessing that is not Bethlehem steel. No, I'm not sure exactly what that is. Is it like Ulfbert steel? No, it's not. That's for sure. Let us see here. Someone says, Alex Forgay, $10. Thank you, my friend. Says, good morning, Nate. What are some good companion plants to help control the bad pests and bugs around my tomatoes, peppers, squash, etc.? Thanks again, brother. Yes, okay. Let us commence talking about that. Please do watch the video I made, the top 7 pest deterrent plants. I go in depth about many things. But so around tomatoes, definitely the basil. You always plant basil around tomatoes because it attracts pollinators, and it also deters a particular type of pest. I forget exactly what it is, but basil in particular deters a particular type of, I can't think of the name, of pests that commonly infest tomatoes. And so you definitely can do that. So tomatoes and basil are always a good one. Also marigolds. I have marigolds all over the garden. Crackerjack marigolds for the back spaces because they get real big. And nice big blooms like that. Super gorgeous, about 3 feet tall and just full of big, beautiful blooms all summer long. But then I also have petite French marigolds for in the places where I don't want to shade things out. Plant them all over the place. I mean, there's probably 50 marigolds throughout the garden, and those really help. Along with calendula. Calendula is an unbelievably awesome pest deterrent. Also a trap plant for aphids. Aphids will go to that plant all the time instead of your other plants. So, and calendula will self-sow. It will self-sow very easily in the garden. So you plant it once and it will go to flower and then die off and the seeds will fall and they will just sit there until the next year. The plant itself doesn't overwinter, but the seeds easily overwinter. So calendula is another really good one. Now for squash, a good thing to plant with squash is nasturtiums. And those nasturtiums, because they will vine out along with, nasturtiums are good to plant anywhere, but they will vine out along with squash plants and stuff. So, and they really help to attract pollinators and deter pests, definitely. And they're very delicious. Doug McCoy says, snails ate my marigolds in Oregon. Yes, that is the number one, almost the only pest for the marigold is the slugs and snails. They devour those things, but not if you use the ultimate slug solution. So let's see here. Now, what I did want to say, okay, a couple of other things that I wanted to say. Colby Saw, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Says via PayPal, says, is there a general recommendation for garden square foot you would use the 60-gallon barrel of liquid fertilizers diluted in water? Trying to scale up or down as needed to fit my garden since I have several that are different sizes. Okay, several several barrels or several gardens? And now, square foot garden, you would use the 60-gallon barrel of liquid fertilizers diluted in water. Do you mean, whoa, Alex Coonan, Treadlight has a lifetime warranty? Ooh, uh-oh. I might have to retract what I said. To a degree, though, it's still a stupid design, but I will definitely send it back. I will look into that, though. But it's kind of just a pain, though. You'd rather them just make it so it doesn't break. But, okay. If they have a lifetime warranty, then I will investigate that. Now, and I will change what I said about it, you know. But anyways, so square foot, you would use the 60-gallon barrel of liquid fertilizers. Do you mean after we dilute it in the water, or do you mean the fertilizer itself? Because a 60-gallon barrel of JDOM liquid fertilizer is a lot of fertilizer, I have found. I mean, it's a lot to use. But if you're talking about once you dilute it, then you're going to have to be the judge of that, because it will be about the same amount that when you're fertilizing, guys, water just like you would water the plant. The same amount that you would as if you normally are watering the plant. Yes? That's how much you want to use generally. So 60 gallon, well, for reference, so a garden that is like 40 by 80, something like that, can easily use 150 gallons that has been diluted, 150 gallons. So you can go from there. I mean, it really doesn't, there's no set gauge. I would have to look at put some pictures to the Discord, Cole, or send them to me or whatever, some pictures of your gardens or the things in question. I would have to see it. So, yeah. But a 60-gallon drum, once it's all already been diluted, is not that much. That's not that much. Let's see here. Now, a couple of other things, guys. Okay, Thomas Rayfield says basil repels aphids, whiteflies, and hornworms. Yes, definitely. And it tastes delicious with basil or with tomatoes. Kermudge in Alaska says, hate to say it, I have to get outside and get things done. Yes, so Alaskan spring and summer does not last long. You all have an amazing day. Thank you, Kermudge. Yes, we will do that. A couple of other things, guys. So now, a lot of you guys are into sprouting. Not sprouting for growing, but sprouting seeds. I made a video on it a while back, and I ordered some of these stainless steel rings, and I ordered them like 2 years ago or something. Oh, they've changed the design a little bit. Oh, it used to be a two-part, but they've changed. Anyways, I ordered some of these from this company, Eco Peaceful. I ordered some maybe like 3 years ago, and they shipped them to me, and there was no... Okay, these are the ones. There we go. These are the ones that I ordered, and they were missing parts. And so I left a review, and this is before I had the YouTube channel and stuff. I left a review, and there was missing parts, and I tried to get a refund and stuff, and it just didn't work. Amazon wouldn't do it, so I was just stuck. So I had like no parts. It was really unfortunate. I was upset about that, to a degree. And then nothing ever came of it. But then all of a sudden, I got an email like maybe 2 months ago, and it said something like, hey Nate, very sorry for the late resolution to the missing parts on your sprouting lids. I wish we could have resolved that immediately, but unfortunately Amazon does not contact sellers, so I was not made aware of that issue. Also, Amazon does not notify sellers when someone posts a review, blah blah blah, and stuff. So she said, how can we make this right? But I just kind of forgot about it because I get so many emails and so many offers and stuff, so many things. I was like, oh, that's nice, and maybe I'll respond, but then I just never did. And so just the other day, I went to the P.O. box, and there was this package in there, and said, sent me the same thing that was on the email, but then said, luckily you have your name on the review and you have public profiles. So I looked you up and found your address on your YouTube channel. Hope this is a resolution you are satisfied with. Please contact me directly if you have any issues or questions. So guys, she hunted me down and literally didn't even ask if I still wanted them or anything. There was no correspondence, and just literally sent me not only the one that had missing parts, but a whole nother one to it. So I think that's really cool. And here's the contact information for this company. And after 2 or 3 years of using this, I can say that these are the best sprouting lids I've ever had by far. They actually don't rust. 316 stainless steel, and I was very apprehensive at first, but they actually don't rust at all. They still look just like this. So I can highly recommend them. I would have recommended them anyways. I just was put off by getting a bunch of missing parts, but I think that's really cool that they went way above and beyond and just sent these to me. So highly recommend them. I'll put them in the Amazon storefront because I probably didn't, because I was a little bit upset about that. So I probably didn't, but these actually seem like better. I think these are the old ones. They're a two-part. These are the improvements. Guys, sprouting seeds are incredible. I mean, I like, my favorite ones are alfalfa. Sprout the alfalfa, definitely. This new model is going to be superior to this two-part model. It is. So yeah, guys, I highly recommend that. Yeah, Claire Aylward says, I want to support that seller. She's on her A game. Will you link? Yes, I will. As soon as this is done, I will put a link in the description to this exact ones, and I will put them in my Amazon storefront. So yeah, Lena, apparently it's so yeah, it's just a really good company. There's the contact info, but I will put a link. And so if you guys are into sprouting, definitely get it, okay? Ooh, spray can art. Good to see you here, my friend. It says question in super chat above. Was there? I didn't see one. But let me answer CyberCert real quick because I saw this previously. It says, hi from north of Toronto. I was thrilled to find Egyptian onions and Greek mountain tea plants at a store and bought them. Any growing tips? That's incredible that you found those. But Egyptian walking onions, they are super hardy, and they will produce no matter what. So put them into the ground, and with some rotted compost would be ideal. And some leaves. They like a layer of mulch. They want to come up through the mulch. So I don't know how far along yours are, if they're just the top sets or if they're actually the plants themselves. But put them in the ground, put some mulch around them. They want to stay evenly moist. So when I send you guys the Egyptian walking onions, so many of you have pre-ordered them. When I send them to you, there will be a little instruction thing with it. And so you will just put them into the ground and cover them with some mulch of choice. Now, other than that, they don't need much. They're not fussy about anything. So that's very important that, that you get them in the ground and that you get them mulched. But other than that, they're not really fussy. And then the other thing is Greek mountain tea. Now that's ironwort, and I have not grown that. I have never grown that, but if I did, I would grow it in rich soil. I would grow it in, good draining, sort of well-amended soil. Yeah, that's what I would grow it in. The people that are all like, herbs, they don't like, they like really, they don't like rich soil. That's not really the case that I have found. Now they're saying that because the natural environment of ironwort, if it's like Greek, when I lived in Greece, I saw like rosemary and thyme and oregano and the Greek mountain tea, the ironwort. I saw those things growing out wild, and they were growing in like rocks. I mean, it was incredible, but that's different. That's in their natural environment. So when you grow it at home, everything wants good, rich, thriving soil, except for sweet potatoes. But other than that, pretty much everything wants some good, thriving soil. All right. There we go. Tubba $5. Thank you, my friend. It says, hello, brother. Can I grow Tahitian squash up an 8-foot trellis? 3 to 4 plants in a 12-foot wide by 8-foot tall will work, or just stick to Waltham. So the 8-foot trellis, 3 to 4 plants in a 12-foot wide by 8-foot tall. So that's going to be a lot. That's going to be a lot. And the Tahitian melon squash is not ideal for a trellis because the squash, when it gets so big, they'll pull down the vines. I have had this happen, and they will pull down the vines. So if you've had success with the Waltham, with the butternut is what you're talking about, then I would stick with that. Yeah. What I grow up the trellis is the honey nut squash. And I have a cattle panel, 16-foot cattle panel arched over like that with a 5-foot arch gap in between. That is what I do. I do the honey nut because it's like a butternut except only this big, and they're individual sized, and they're so sweet. They're so delicious. Cut it in half, roast it with some cinnamon, nutmeg, and some little bit of brown sugar. Oh man, or maple syrup, or just molasses. Yes. And they're real small, and so they'll grow, and you don't have to trellis or do anything to them, or you don't have to, because you can grow them up the trellis. But I mean, could you imagine growing this thing? I mean, this thing is gonna rip the whole vine down. There's no vine that is gonna sit there and support this thing. You're gonna have to put, you're gonna have to put a little hammock underneath it. It's just too much, So I would recommend no. Alberto, $10. Thank you, my friend. Says, dear fellow warrior, what can I plant in mid-July? When do I start fall crops? How can I set up a video consultation? Zone 7B. Namaste, my brother. Yes. That would be best for a video consultation because there are so many factors involved with what you just said. So it would be best to do that. So you can email me, gardenlikeaviking@gmail.com, and let me know some times that will work for you. We'll use Google Meet, which it's like Zoom, except you don't have to download or do anything, and there's no time limit. So I use Google Meet, and we can section out about an hour of time, give or take, and we will get you a plan. We'll get you a good plan, but be prepared. Have already, a list of things that you want to grow, like priority of things you want to grow and where you can grow them, and the hours of sunlight that each place gets. You know, have all those things in mind to make the most of our time. So yeah, we can do that. Let's see here. AK Froggy says, speaking of rosemary, I can't get any variety to germinate. Is there some kind of special procedure it needs? I don't know about that, because I just clone them. You know, I just cut them and then root them. So I don't know exactly. Guys, make your life easier this season and get you this. Now, how do you pronounce that brand name? Get you one of these. And this is going to allow you to be able to look deeply into the nature of the pest that is destroying your stuff. A lot of people think that they have a fungal disease or some kind of nutrient issue when actually it's pests. So flip the leaf upside down and look at the underside with this good dick face. I said it out loud. I shouldn't have done. Anyways, but that is how you pronounce it, right? Dick face. Anyways, you want to look with the magnifying glass and see if you've got little eggs or something like that. And this thing helps tremendously, because you'll think that it's not insects, or you'll think it's, yeah, and it is insects, okay? So anyways, I got all flustered because, yeah. I mean, how ridiculous. How this is the nature of having a Chinese company, that the translation doesn't translate very well, okay? So I didn't even want to say it out loud in case there's kids watching, you know, but that does not translate very well. So they need to get like an English, you know, maybe like an interpreter of some kind. Yeah, I mean, I like it because it's solid, it's made of glass, but just don't do it in the sun. It will burn your plants in a heartbeat. You could start a fire with this thing in 10 seconds, literally. Right, Grateful Ed says, the Asian guy who named that company doesn't have a clue. I know, it's funny. It's possible, Signal Loss. I don't think it's Dice Face. VA Green says, this would be the point that the video goes south. Right. When we start talking about underculture and all that. Yeah, no, we're not. Okay. This is serious, guys. A few more things. Donald Hughes says, Nate, need help. Not having any luck growing ground cherry from seeds. Ground cherries are pretty easy to grow. I mean, so you need to, what do you mean? They're not sprouting? Because then there's something wrong with the seeds. But don't bury the seeds, okay? They need to be like just a light dusting of soil over them. So really a good way is to take the actual ground cherries from last season, let them dehydrate and they turn into like raisins, and then just kind of pick little pieces apart and put them into the soil and they'll grow from that. So that's a really good way to do it. But other than that, once they've sprouted, you grow them just like tomatoes. I mean, they're in the same family. So yes. Brian Airy, yes, thank you for reminding me. I will do that because I haven't put a link for this one yet. Definitely I can recommend this thing. It has streamlined my whole tea and coffee making process. I mean, it's fantastic. So, yes, I will. Kenny Green says, Nate, my radishes are larger than golf balls. Largest I've ever grown. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. That's what we like to hear, my friend. But try them, though. Try them, because in my experience, once they get any bigger than that, they're going to get so fiery hot, it's going to blow your head off. And they might get really fibrous and woody. Yeah. Okay, Donald says not sprouting. Well, then there's something wrong. It needs to stay consistently moist. And you plant them very, very shallow. You probably planted them too deep. Yeah. So... Yes. Deacon MMA. Nate is gold. Viking Tribe loves you, brother. Thank you, my friends. Same. Big Will Dog. Okay, guys. So a few more things. Let's see here. If you haven't already, okay, get you these two books. They can be very helpful. All right. So especially in understanding the aerated compost teas, which hopefully you guys have all watched the video. at least the first one, to make it in the 5-gallon, or the one I released last week about making it in the 55-gallon drum. All right, and that's all that you need. That's going to be all that you need. These books can be helpful in understanding that stuff more in depth. They're sciencey, but they're digestible. Yeah, so that's good. And let's see here. Oops. Okay, Donald Hughes says, thanks. Getting new seeds. Yes, good ideas. Good idea. Austin says, ever think about publishing your live streams as a podcast to Spotify and Apple Podcasts? I totally have thought about that and would definitely do that and need to get on that. It's already a lot trying to make content and trying to have big gardens all over the place and be involved in so many different projects and stuff. So that's already a lot. But definitely, I would like to do that. Our Legato says, probably knows exactly how we pronounce it. Trolling at its finest. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They're just laughing. Hey, let's name the company this. Make all these Western people say this out loud. Brent says, Nate, what are your top 5 go-to tomatoes? Number 1, Cherokee Purple, without any doubt, the most flavorful and delicious. Number 2, cherry tomato type, Purple Bumblebees, definitely. And super vigorous, super flavorful, wonderful for fermenting. And then paste varieties is going to be the Roma tomato, and now the Amish paste as well. So those are the ones that Cherokee Purple for the slicer, the cherry tomato and the fermenting tomato, the Purple Bumblebee, and then the Roma and the Amish paste for the sauces. That's the way to go. And beyond that, it's just always experimenting. Last year I tried several different varieties. The Carbon, also tried Berkeley Tie-Dye, which I sort of liked and stuff, but just nothing compares to the Cherokee Purple. There's no need to have anything else, in my opinion, because it's the essence of summer. It's so delicious. So, but yeah, if you guys have suggestions, you can send me seeds. No problem. Yeah, you can send me seeds. If you guys have wonderful tomatoes that you like, you can send me some, okay? Now, the Cherokee Purple, though, is not a super vigorous plant. I mean, it can be. It can be if you grow it right. But you want to plant numerous Cherokee Purples. But if you grow it right, meaning good drainage and high nutrients, it'll grow big. It'll grow big. My mom's last year, we put 2 of them in a 150-gallon grow pot that was full of a peat moss and perlite mixture with some Viking nutrients. That's all we used. It was soilless growing medium and the Viking nutrients. And 2 tomatoes in a 150-gallon pot. And I had it on a watering system so that it got about 45 minutes of water every evening. And that thing was unbelievable. I mean, those tomatoes were Jurassic looking, spilling over and just loaded with tomatoes. Her tomatoes did better than mine that were in the ground. I used manure and I didn't use the Viking nutrients last year on my tomatoes, but hers were just incredible. And the flavor was beyond compare. So yeah, that's the way to do it. Northern Girl Hobbies says, mortgage lifter. I'll send you a bunch of different varieties of tomatoes. That would be great. Yes, do that. Thank you. So, okay, guys. Well, it's been real, but I got all kinds of stuff going on. So we must move on with the day. So check out the links in the description. I'm going to go upstairs right now and put these in the description, a link to these, and I'll put them in the storefront. So thank you guys for the contributions. I appreciate it. And there are still Egyptian walking onion orders available if you wish to reserve your spot. September is coming up before long. So the shipments will be out in about September. Yeah. So yes. And let's see. Can I think of anything else? It's always a pleasure, guys. I appreciate the energy and everything. This is like one of my favorite times of the whole week. All right, so we will see you guys. We'll be back at the Thrive Live on Monday at 10:30. We'll be back doing that. So we'll see you guys on the Thrive Like a Viking at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, if that's your thing. If it's not, then we will see you right here next Saturday, same time, same place, 12 noon Eastern Time. Thank you, my friends.